Well, hello, and time for another update, I suppose. Uh, Again, first of all, thank you to anyone who's subscribed and continuing to subscribe. Hopefully, these are vaguely useful or of interest. This is just a kind of what's on the workbench and what am I fiddling around with. So, following on from the cob video, the LEDs, I've painted up my first prototype just black around the body, and it now stops any of the light bleed, so you do actually get quite a nice just linear little strip of light. So I've got a couple more of those and we'll try and get them put together, and then I'm going to have to put them into the station. I've got a nice bit sort of underpass under the a road bridge and the station building. I'll just have to work out how to fit them because I don't really want the cables visible. I can't just drill through because then there'll be cables sticking up into the floor of the station. So it's going to require some sort of false ceiling. That'll be easy, I'm sure. Nothing more than a 5-minute job. So that's that. I shall try and get that done at some point and can actually then see how well they look in place. The other thing I had wanted to do, although I have a DCC layout, I find controlling the points by it an absolute pain. You have to know which number, you have to know, because I'm using a Digitrax controller, are they thrown or closed, what do you want? So my plan is to build a switched, control panel. And I had thought, well, I'll print up some little LED holders. I have a 3-way point, hence the funky shape, to hold LEDs. And I don't know if you can see, the idea was sort of, I could then set the sort of root color, so straight through being orange, diverging off red, and obviously a different color that way. These are just sort of little modules that I made just so that, I thought it would be easier to be able to solder them individually. The only thing is, as a prototype, yeah, proof of concept I'm quite happy with, but it's huge. The entrance to the station looks something like that. So on one side you have 3 lines, on the other side 2, and 3-way point, 2 double slips and a single point. And if I use that sort of frame, which would sit, as the 3-way point, the whole thing's going to end up being about 30 centimeters across, which is just getting a bit. It might look really nice as, sort of board mounted at a high level, but between me and the actual track, it's just going to be too big. So I think I might stick with the idea. I really like the idea of using the rectangular LEDs just because it gives a different light profile and it's a little different to round ones. But I'm thinking instead of 2 for each section, perhaps reducing it down to 1 and then just making it all a little bit more compact. I'm keeping the DCC point motors. They're DCC concept ones, so it's easy enough to wire switches into it, and I'll hopefully also wire it up so that, like, the 3 roots out of the 3-way point, I simply have 1 switch to select rather than having to select 2 switches to select that point and then 2 switches to select that point. I have a pile of diodes which hopefully will achieve that. So that's that, and yet another project. And then the other thing that I had started working on ages ago, and I've printed a little section of it. I don't know if anyone can guess. If you can, leave your comments. But basically it's a rotating billboard. They've kind of gone out of fashion now because digital ones are cheaper, but everyone will have seen these. They're the boards with a triangular section on it, and you get 3 different posters. They rotate around periodically, and keeps people's interest in spending money. So I've been trying to sort of print one of those up. The problem I'm having, and kind of shows it, is although the gears mesh nicely in CAD, because they are tiny, the resolution when they're printed, they're sort of fouling in places and jamming. So I'm not sure what to do. I may try and see if I can source pre-made gears that size, and then simply print the poster board bit and joint them together. Superglue is a wonderful thing. It may just not be possible, but when it does sort of vaguely mesh together and work, I think the idea is good. The only other sort of annoying thing is I've ended up having each odd one rotates in the opposite direction. I tried to use an idler gear, so they all rotated in the same direction, but again, the size of things was just getting ridiculous. So yeah, not sure how I'm going to proceed with this. If I'm going to proceed with it. Might just print it out as a static one and go from there. But yeah, first sort of time of trying to make a mechanism with the printer, and it's difficult, but we'll persevere. It is probably the reason why these aren't commonly available in 00, because yeah, there's quite a lot of very small teeth on that. And the other thing I've had is some of my supports file, stuck, and therefore filed the teeth as well. So, but I think that's only the 2nd or 3rd attempt, and it's getting closer each time. So I do think it'll be possible, because where they do kind of run, it does seem to actually work. So who knows? But yeah, so that's sort of what the next little week of things will hopefully feature. I am starting a new job on Monday, so modelling will have to take a little back seat just till everything calms down. But it's good to have a couple of little projects to keep us going with. Anyway, as I say, just a little short update, just to say how things are occupying my mind, and hope you enjoy modelling as well, and maybe you have more progress and success in such things than I have. So if you do, let me know.